welcome to the studio. Now, the burning topic, which most of people have no idea, but everybody making fuss, it's a budget and negative gearing. First and foremost, what is the budget about this year, and that negative gearing, how this impacting Australians day to day?
Budget is, I'm still trying to figure out, Mario, who the budget is for,
Okay.
to be completely honest to you, because the government in their teasers, in their headlines are talking about the budget is for the first home buyers, but it has not addressed the main challenge of supply issue. In fact, the budget admits that we will be building 35,000 fewer homes, which does not help with the supply side of things. So I'm still trying to figure out who the budget is for, because it's definitely not helping first home buyers.
Look, I can ask you something. As a father, you have a son, and like it's impacting him, this negative gearing, right?
Yep.
Okay. So do you mind to explain to me as a 5 years old?
Yep. So negative gearing, how it used to work in Australia was, let's say you have, as a landlord, you buy an investment property. It is generating $30,000 of rental income every year. The cost to hold that property was 40 grand, which includes your interest repayments, which includes your council rates, insurances, a bit of maintenance here and there. So that $10,000 extra from your pocket was something that you were coping every year. But the benefit you had as an investor was the bank was telling you, or the government was telling you that, okay, that $10,000 loss, you can actually get a little bit out of it at the end of the tax return. How do you do that? Let's say your taxable income is 120 grand a year. So because you had that $10,000 loss on your investment property, so your taxable income goes down from 120 to $110,000.
Okay.
So essentially you are paying tax on 110K, not on 120, which means based on your tax bracket, you will probably be getting $3,000 to $4,000 back at the time of tax return in this scenario. So that $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 is gone now if you're buying an established property. So that's pretty much the summary of it. It was a bit of a sweetener at the end of the day when your tax man would give you that 3-4 grand back, 5 grand back, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm doing well. The other side of the story is if you are investing only because of that 3 or 4 grand, the challenge with that is that you're having that locked mindset because you're not investing just for 1 year, not for 2 years. I have this funny incident from my client last week, and he said, even before the budget, he came to me, oh, negative gearing is going away. What will happen to me? I said, what will happen to you? How much tax benefit have you got in the last 4 years since you owned this?
Yes.
Sorry?
How much money he has, yeah.
So in the last 4 years that he has owned that property, he got 23 grand of tax benefits in total.
Yeah.
But which is good, like 5.5 grand every year on average. But during the same 4 years, his investment grew in value and helped him create wealth of $300,000. So my question to you is, in 4 years from now, do you want 23 grand or do you want $300,000?
$300,000.
That's the answer. So that is where, yes, negative gearing is not there anymore, but the bigger picture has not changed. So yes, the goalposts have moved, but the goalposts may have moved, but the goal is exactly the same, which is wealth creation through property investing in Australia.
Adil, I want to ask you a simple question. What's the other options for the first home buyers in 2026?
The options are far and few, to be honest with you. They don't have many options, even though the government claims that they are helping first home buyers with this budget. But the average income or the median income of an Aussie is $75,000 a year, which after tax comes down to around $5,000 every month. Now, the average house price or the average dwelling price in Australia is more than $1 million. And I'm talking about national median value. I'm including Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, everyone. I'm including the regional cities as well. I'm including the apartments as well, townhouses as well. So the median of all of them sits at more than 1 million. So on a $1 million property, even if you come up with a 20% deposit, let's say, you get help from your parents, you get some money passed down from the parents, from your uncles, whoever, if you have one who's that much generous. Yes, you have that $200,000 possibly coming to you. You still have to get that $800,000 loan. So as a first home buyer, that $800,000 loan means a monthly mortgage of $6,500 as a minimum. Now you tell me, for someone whose take-home salary is $5,000 a month, how can they afford a mortgage of $6,000 to $7,000 a month? If Mr. Chalmers can answer that question for me, I would love to hear from him.
I can ask you one question. Why he was like Mr. Chalmers? Why was so uncomfortable answering questions on a budget night? Can I ask you why? Like, he's been asking simple questions. Like, we talk about young people, like my son. Like, you're making decisions for millions of people, but yet he tried to turn into like a comedy, stand-up comedy. I was watching him and like avoiding the answer to the questions. Why is that? Why is it so difficult to answer something you make the plan, the decision?
I think the government is confused themselves. 2 years ago when they were doing the campaign, there are multiple videos out there on record where the treasurer and the current PM themselves said, no, we are not touching negative gearing. We are not going that way. You have asked this question me 50 times and I've replied you 50 times. Now we are not doing it. And now they have done it. So it looks like they themselves don't know how they need to do it. So they're confused themselves. And when you're confused, I don't think you can make the best decisions for the people. So the people need to realize that the only asset that is working better than inflation over the past 40 years is Australian property. That's what I know about. If someone knows anything better than that, they can fill me in. But Australian property has performed better than inflation in the last 30, 40 years. And that is continue to be the case going forward. Because again, we're not building enough houses. In his budget speech, Mr. Sharma said, we are actually falling behind by 35,000 homes as well, which means supply is still tight. So, of course, they're not helping first home buyers because they're not building enough new homes. Instead, they're asking the mom and dad investors, hey, we will give you negative gearing benefits. Now you go and build houses for us. And they can't get loans for that because they're already stretched in their budget. So they're just creating this vacuum, which will not help anyone essentially, apart from smart investors who treat property investing as a true business, who are not looking at the first 3 years of tax deductions as a negative gearing benefit. They are looking at the next 20 years as well.
That's today's conversation. It's not just about, budgeting itself, because you're very well versed in this arena of investment, the properties. And there is a lot of questions, young people and the parents want to ask, so I try to choose the best ones. One of them for me right now, it's like if the young couple or young person goes to buy the property, townhouse or maybe an apartment, what's the hidden costs they don't know and they are not aware of?
I think when people want to buy their first home, they're always very emotional. So they come from that emotional background, whether they're emotional about having their own place, whether they're emotional about the color of the wall, or the park opposite to the apartment building. Can be anything, right?
Yes.
I've seen people who are emotional about the garage as well. Let me tell you, that people can get emotional for anything. Now, what they can actually easily fall prey to, or they can easily make that mistake. Yes, the bank can give you a loan today, going back to our example. But if the bank is giving you a loan of $800,000 today for your home that you plan to be living in, most likely if you are in Sydney, you will be buying an apartment for that, right?
Yes.
You cannot afford a house where under $1 million in Sydney anymore. The median price for houses in Sydney sits at $1.7 million.
1.7?
For houses in Sydney, yes. It's $1.7 million. Easily.
What's happened with this market?
Exactly. So houses are out of the way. If someone wants to buy somewhere in Sydney as a first home buyer, be very careful. Yes, the bank can give you a loan of 6, 7, 800K if you have good income. But that's a 30-year commitment. Can you go for that 30-year commitment to keep paying down that loan?
Not anymore because I'm 54 now.
Not for you, for your child. That's what you asked, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, yes, they may be able to do it, but don't feel emotional about it. So, don't buy something that you cannot afford long term. That is my biggest advice to people, because I'm seeing people do that. There's a lot of FOMO. I will miss out. And the kind of asset they are buying for that, even in Sydney, for $1 million, they're getting apartments. maybe townhouses if they are lucky, maybe 40, 50 Ks away from the CBD. What that does is that you're buying an asset which always has grown much, much slower than the overall market. So not really buying, yes, you have a roof to live in.
Yeah.
It's not growing in value with the speed it should. So you're getting into a 30-year commitment with a roof on your head for your kids, which is good, which is perfect.
Yes.
But financially, is it still making sense to buy something which will only probably grow at 3-4% a year, even less than inflation in most cases? And you're just getting yourself into that commitment for the next 30 years just to keep paying down that mortgage, which is not small, by the way. Interest rates are not slowing down. So interest rates we are talking about inflation hitting 5% this quarter, which means interest rates would be 6%, 6.5% for quite some time.
That's interesting. Can I just...
So yeah, affordability is the key for me.
Again, I want to ask you as a father, right?
Yep.
Because, I'm not expert in properties and I don't know nothing about properties, to be honest with you.
Yep.
My son saves some money, so he has a limited savings, right? And he was looking even to buy the property in Wollongong, right? So just can afford.
Just get a toe into the market.
Yeah, and he was prepared to move out from Sydney, which is difficult for him because
Yep.
he's working in Sydney hospitals here, right?
Yep.
Now, if somebody comes to you, young couple, or even someone like my son with a limited saving, and they say, I have, I don't know, figure of speech, $10,000, but should I go to the bank and ask for 98%?
Or 99% or whatever it comes down to, right?
Because I heard that there's now 5% deposit, whatever it is, even less now. What your advice would be, somebody like my son or young couple who has a limited saving, would you tell them to go and borrow from bank 99.9% mortgage?
Let me be very clear on that.
Please. By all means, for everybody out there, I want you to, as an expert and as
a father myself.
That's correct.
Because I have my own kids, right? Again, goes back to the long-term affordability. In some cities, if your son they need to look at what their income is, how much they can afford to pay in terms of mortgage, and whether what they're looking to buy will support their lifestyle or not.
Yeah.
And that is where some of the cities are still presenting good opportunities for first home buyers. Cities like Melbourne, because they are pretty low in terms of their median prices. So you can still get a really good house for $700,000, $800,000 in a decent suburb. Now that's where you have to decide. Do you really want to live over there and raise your family over there with your kids? Because that's what you can afford. That is where, as a family, you need to be very clear. You need to have a list of must-haves. Okay, these are the things we are not going to compromise on. It can be location, it can be number of bedrooms, whatever it may be. And it needs to have a list of good-to-haves.
Yes.
Okay, these are the things, if we can get them in our budget, it's good. But if we are not able to buy 100 meters away from a bus stop, because our budget doesn't allow that, then we are happy to walk 10 minutes every morning just to get to the bus stop. So these are the things that every young couple or every individual as well who's looking to get into their first home needs to be very clear about. And because they're emotional, a lot of times they're thinking just with emotion. It's very hard for them to digest all of these things because as buyers, not just property buyers, but anything if you go and buy, we are always looking for a bargain. I want everything. Give me everything and I want to pay as less as possible. It doesn't work in property that way, man.
Can I, one question as a human to human, right?
Yep. There is no AI over here, by the way.
We talk about emotions.
No
right?
AI. Yep.
So when people come to you and they have high expectations, but then you need to give them cold shower and a reality check, and you can see that emotions are being shattered, how do you feel? You go to government and say, government, to change something, let's go do next budgeting better. How do you deal with this?
I think the first thing we need to explain people is that, yes, when it comes to property buying, even property selling as well at times, it is an emotional topic.
Yes.
It is an Aussie dream, whether it's your own home, whether even if it's an investment. It is emotional. It has an emotion attached. You want to build a legacy. You want to build for your retirement. It's a nest egg for you, a safety net, right? So first thing we need to do is disarm people, remove the emotional part out of it and say, I will tell you what you need to hear, not what you like to hear. And if you don't like that, after this next 15 minutes, we are not talking again, that's fine. I'm not offended. But I need to tell you what will work for you based on your cash flow situation, your family goals, your risk appetite as an individual. Not a lot of people will have that risk appetite now to go into established properties and create wealth because negative gearing benefits are gone. So that's fine. If it doesn't work for them, that's fine. But for a lot of people, it's still working. And we are getting heaps of calls since the budget night. Okay. People still want to see that opportunity that, I'm not getting that $5,000 cash back from the taxman every year, but I'm still getting my property growing by $70,000, $80,000 every year. That's not changing because the supply has not gone down. The immigration has not slowed down.
Yes, that's true.
In the 6 years tenure of labor from 22 till 28, the forecast is that 1.8 million immigrants would land into Australia. Let that sink in. That is 300,000 new people every year on average who require housing. Where will they go? Do they come down and use their credit card just to pay for a house deposit? No. They need housing, and we are not building enough. We are falling behind. Supply is tight. Construction cost is out of the roof. Inflation is not slowing down. So the result is people need to be careful where they put their money in.
May I ask you just a quick question? Do you supply potential or some of your clients, before they come to you, like some type of the checklist or questionnaire so they know where they're sitting before they do interview with you?
So we do send them a series of questions as to what they're trying to do, where they are. And I like to go through those series of questions with them while I'm on call, just so that they understand as well. Okay, their aspiration is to reach a certain point, whether they are looking to buy their first home or whether they're looking to upsize to a family home. A lot of people are coming for upsizing. A lot of people are coming to us who are relocating. And that's an interesting story. A lot of people who live in the eastern suburbs, who live in the inner west.
Wow. Yeah.
They have a $5 million house, $7 million house with a $2 million debt on it. And they're like, that $2 million is costing me $14,000 a month. And that is making me work like a dog.
Yeah.
So why not I just get rid of this? Because it still takes me 45 minutes to get to my work. And rather move to the hills region in Sydney, where I will still be in the city in 45 minutes, but I can buy a house outright with no debt at all and have a better lifestyle.
I love conversation with you.
So that's a different kind of a mindset altogether. So yes, that's where I think, going back to your question, we always want to understand where they are in their journey. They can be first-time buyers, first-time investors, upsizers, downsizers, retirees. It really just, and not one size fits all. They all have different requirements.
That is so true. Yeah. Like on a budget night, on any budget, I didn't heard nobody. Actually, I can't even find that anybody talks how to save the money. Everybody talks how to spend the money.
True.
You agree with me?
Yep.
When you open TV, radio, internet, everybody says where to invest money, how to spend money, or how to save the money. May I ask you a question about saving the money? Let's just say average family makes 10 grand per month.
Yep.
How they can save money? I mean, that's not possible. It sounds impossible in today's environment. You as an expert and somebody who faces many obstacles and challenges in life, can you just educate people now how to save the money?
I love that question, and it goes back to the old habits of being disciplined about it. Couple of weeks ago, and I was sharing that with you earlier as well, I just felt that I need to have a burger. At 1 in the morning, I was working late. The little one was not going to bed. She was throwing tantrums, and I was like, let's have a burger. Because we had dinner at 7, so we are hungry again. And we said, okay, where do we get burger from? Okay, everything else is closed. I cannot go anywhere. Okay, let's go to Uber Eats. And we ordered something from Uber Eats, which costed us $12 just for delivery. Now that $12 sounds, that's nothing. That's easy. Just one off. But every month, me and my wife actually sit down, and that's anyone who wants to do this. We go through all our expenses, and we allocate those expenses against the old school Excel spreadsheet. We allocate those expenses against different expense headers. Like, okay, this is for grocery, this is for dine out, this is for entertainment, this is for clothing. And every month we see areas where we can actually optimize and save. And sometimes it can be for a given month, we can only save probably $100. For some other months, we can probably save $1,500. So that's where we know, okay, we have a big expense coming up. My wife wanted our vacuum got burnt, so she wanted a new handheld vacuum, and I was like, okay, yes, you can buy it this month because we have allowance for it. So if you start doing that budgeting that way, I know it's a boring way. People don't want to go to Excel. It takes time to put all the expenses in there, but we have a budget sheet for our clients, the same Excel sheet, which I share with them as well.
Can I ask a question?
Go
Why
for it.
Excel sheet? Because again, that's just triggered another question, because when I go on TikTok, there's a lot of these companies offering all these accounting softwares or bookkeeping softwares. And people will opt for this one. And I think myself, but somebody needs to enter the data. Doesn't matter, say like, oh, you just click and scan. Even that requires click and scan. But why you're using Excel sheet? Isn't that a little bit...
I'm old school.
Okay.
And I'm happy to be old school, because when you go for subscription, you're just being a bit lazy, in my view.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one.
And you're paying extra $20 just for that accounting software, in which you still have to do the same amount of effort. So your effort is not going down.
Yeah.
So why don't you just a free spreadsheet? What's stopping you from doing that?
How's the burger?
Burger was awesome, man.
1 o'clock in the morning, huh?
Burger was awesome. It arrived at 1:45. I mean, we were happy.
Yeah. So to save the money, you need to have the discipline. That's what you're saying, basically, right? And doesn't matter it's an Excel sheet or some type of software.
Anything that works for you.
You need to see where your money goes out.
Exactly. And we don't know that. We always find things, we just spent that much on that thing. We never thought of that. And that is how people who are saving for their first home, that spreadsheet is always a reminder telling them, mate, is it a definite expense I need to do? Is it a must-have? Yeah. Or is it something I can still skip and survive? So for first home buyers looking to save money for that deposit, or even for investors, it works alike. Get into the habit of recording what you are spending.
What's the difference now? I heard you mention this a few times. For everybody now listening, property or investment, what's the difference?
Well, property is supposed to be a place to live.
Okay.
But this is one of the only asset classes, as we discussed before, which has performed better than anything else in the last 40 years in Australia. And it simply works on the principle of supply and demand and the local fundamentals. So it is a big tool to use that property to actually create savings for your retirement, to create a lifestyle for your retirement, which comes through anywhere between 2 to 5 properties. For some people, only 2 properties can help them do it. For some people, 5 properties can help them do it. Because, let me tell you, your super may not be enough for you to survive when you retire.
That is something I strongly agree with you.
So the government says you need at least a super of $600,000 to survive. How many people would have that? And even that super gives you how much per week? $700 a week? $800 a week? After you turn 65? If I ask you now, let's say if you're 65 today as an example, can you survive on $800 a week?
Very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. Yeah.
So that's where property comes into play. The safest asset type, in my view, that's my personal view. If someone disagrees, that's perfectly okay. The safest asset type, which sits there, keeps performing, and keeps growing the wealth for you, where a lot of our clients are sitting on equities of 1 million, 1.5 million already through 2 or 3 investments. And that equity is actually their nest egg.
Do you can share with me, or everybody listening right now, where is the moment in the life of anybody, individuals or couples, they should consider to do investment property? Where is the moment I ask myself?
I love that question. When is the right time to invest?
Yeah, exactly. Again, nobody tells me when I should invest. Instead of this, invest. I'm like, okay, but when is that?
When? Where? How?
When is that, yeah.
Where does that first step start, right? Exactly. There is no perfect time, and everyone keeps saying that. There is no perfect time for investing.
Okay.
The perfect time is when you are mentally and financially ready, and you will never be 100% feeling ready about it. There will not be a point of time in your life where you will feel 100% that now I'm completely ready, now I'm completely fine financially, now I can go for investment. Let it be property investing or anything else as well. You will always have doubts. You will always have questions. You will always have that family thing coming up, a holiday coming up. You will always have excuses. We all have that because we don't want to change. And investing, if you haven't been investing before, investing is a big change. It's a mindset shift. So biggest thing people need to work on is their mindset. So there will be not a moment of time when someone calls you in the morning. There will not be any Cinderella or a Snow White in your ear saying, "Oh, this is the best time now. Go for it." No, it won't happen.
But what would be your first question if somebody comes to you and say, like, let's just say I come to you, I say, like, Adeal, I want to buy property. I want to invest into property.
Yep.
What would be your first question to me?
My very first question is a very simple question. Why do you want to invest? What makes you invest? And they're like, oh, I want to create wealth. Okay, explain me more.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of people losing money in real estate, losing money in property investing as well.
Oh, okay. Thank you for being honest there.
Yeah,
I appreciate
a lot
that.
of people do that. There are a lot of areas where you can buy dud properties. Your money can actually go backward. It is still possible, even in 2026. So you need to be careful what you do, where you do. So my first question always is, why do you want to do it? It will come with its own challenges. Are you ready for those challenges? And if I feel that they are not mentally ready, they're just 9-to-5 person where they are happy just with a fixed income coming through, and even a $500 extra expense for them is a big problem, then I'm like, mate, what? You know what? Thank you for being here. Thank you for talking to me. But I don't think you have that risk appetite to go for property investing.
You know, this is what makes you very, very unique. I was recently being invited to one conference, which I don't like these conferences, this MLM, because everybody goes there to make the money, be successful, list goes on. And the guy says, I have 40 properties and millions and everything else. I'm like, something doesn't add up. But anyway, it's about property investment. And I said, like, I like to talk to him. He says, no, you can't talk to me because you're going to talk to some of my advisors. Well, I wasn't happy with that one because I tried to understand what they try to sell to people. But everybody was rushing to sign the contract. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is not a deal. You see, you are made for everybody because you talk to individuals, you don't talk to groups, and that's what the guys you should speak with Adeal. And I'm going to put in a description section how you can contact Adeal, and you can talk to him how you can invest or buy the property and be prepared on hard questions as a why you want to do this, not just invest. Now, let's go moving on into a personal life now. I want to ask you, what was the moment in your life, literally your life, when your entire perspective changed on a money, property, investments? Can you recall that moment when you, Adeal, so like I wanted people maybe can relate to that moment, maybe can say like, oh, I had that moment. When was that moment for you, Adeal, when you changed your views?
Let me share a very interesting story with you.
Please.
So my first property, when I went to the bank, I had already owned it for like 18 months, and the bank told me, I went there for a credit card, and they said, by the way, you have a property with us. I said, yeah, I know that. And
I'm paying you.
Yeah, I'm paying mortgage, I know that. And he said, do you know how much is it worth? I said, how much is it? So I bought it for like 470 grand, a house. And he said, it is worth 630 grand. And I did just the maths in my head, and I was like, oh my God, I put down $80,000 deposit initially, bought a property. Within 18 months, it has gone up by 160 grand. So my initial 80 grand has doubled in 18 months without me even knowing about it, let alone doing anything. So the math was not mathing.
Yeah.
And I was like, so that was like a light bulb moment. And I said, what can I do with that? They said, oh, you can actually take out a deposit and buy another property. And I said, oh my God. And then in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, I was kind of thinking very seriously, okay, I had one property which has made me 160, 150 grand, whatever it was in 18 months. What if I had 5 of those? Because I was still doing my day job. I was not spending any time making money over there. So we work harder. We have been told to go to the university, get good grades, get a good job, get a 9-to-5, keep paying your taxes, be the good boy or a girl, and make money. And then at the end of the day, if you're making good money, pay 47% out of it to the government. But
that's a very sour smile on my face. When you say 47, that's so
I can
true,
see that. I can feel that as well. And then in real estate, I had to do nothing like that. I just had to buy the right asset in the right area. And that has given me a 150 grand that was double my own salary at that time.
Okay.
So my income in that time, I was probably making $85,000 a year. 85, 87, something like that. That was ages ago. And at the same time, I made 160 grand out of a property decision. So you need to work for money. That mindset completely flipped. No, you need to invest wisely.
Okay.
And the money will be made. Now, you have to do it with the right structure, of course. With this new tax reforms that have come through, the structure is more important than any time before. So you just can't go and buy something under your personal name or under trust or under company. You need to seek advice first so that you have the right tax outcomes outlined. And I think that's a good part of this budget as well. I mean, I will not just be leg pulling Mr. Chalmers. This is one good thing where investors would be thinking well ahead of themselves. Okay, if I'm going into investment asset, they will start thinking about ownership and how will they manage that asset. So they'll start thinking like a business person or a businessman. And that's what I tell my clients. You have to think like a businessman if you want to get into property investing. You will make good gains, but there will be unknowns associated with it as well.
You know the difference between you and everything else I can think about? Let's go say, if you're looking for advice or tip, let me just simplify. I have a problem with one of my Optus accounts. And Optus sends me emails and I want to talk to somebody, but I get in the AI, right? Which annoys me so much because you can't explain situation and they need to come back to you. And anyway, long story short, eventually I sorted out because I got a person to talk. But you are the real person. You are dealing with the real people. And that's the guarantee that everybody who is looking to invest or buy the property, guys, you talk to a real person. You know what I mean? You can ask the questions. You can simplify. You can make a questions to Adeal in that way that he can explain to you that you be sure that your money will work for you. Now,
and just one thing I would like to add over here. You mentioned about AI.
Yeah.
A lot of buzz around it.
Yeah.
And we are also implementing AI within our processes in what we do every day.
Yeah.
But that does not replace knowing what to buy. That does not replace negotiations with the human on the other side, which is a real estate agent, which also is a human, by the way. Right? It doesn't replace, okay, what kind of financial appetite do you have to make that decision?
Yes.
If you don't have that appetite, the AI bot will not tell you, or even if it does, I don't think you will trust it. You still need some human to actually validate that for you. So AI is there, AI is being implemented, but when it comes to human interaction, nothing can beat it. And that's where I think that is how the new world will look like moving forward.
Let me make you more human even now. Because I didn't understood nothing about budgeting. Nothing, you know what I mean? Because I don't watch this thing and doesn't matter what I want, the government's going to tell me what is best for me and then even they can't explain to me. But the thing is, budgeting brings not just the news, but brings a lot of fears and uncertainties, right?
It does.
So can you just tell the people, how do you deal with some uncertainties and fears in your life if they're afraid of the budgets? How do you can compare what you faced in your life fears with the people facing now fears?
It's a very simple scenario. I mean, let me tell you, if you are unsure about anything in life, if you're not sure about something, you always go and seek from someone who already knows about it.
Yes.
Be it around taxation, be it around where to get a good deal. Like if I need to get a good deal from Amazon, I know my wife is really good at that. So I will go and ask her. Come on, I mean, that's true. So it's reality. If you first thing is to acknowledge that you don't know something.
Yes.
Instead of just kicking the can down the road. Oh, I don't know. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm still surviving. I'm on a good job.
Yes.
Yeah. But how long will that job support you? The governments are not working to help you retire successfully or comfortably. The governments are not designed that way. The governments are designed to run their own operations, try to get as much tax as possible. They're not slowing their spending down. That was a big objection on the current government as well, that they're not slowing down in their spending, which is causing a lot of inflation, by the way. And the normal Aussies have to actually struggle because of that, because the cash rate keeps going up because of that inflation. And they have to pay the price for that. So it ultimately comes back, if you don't know something or if you're not unsure, go and ask the right people. And please don't rely on the government that they will do or work towards your financial well-being or my financial well-being. They won't. They're not supposed to. Well, in the headlines, they're supposed to, but their actual actions are quite contradictory unfortunately. So for Aussies like me and you, we have to work for our own financial well-being and for the financial well-being of our kids. And this budget is a great reminder for that. Don't rely on the government policies. Oh, I will give you 5% deposit scheme and you will come and buy your first home. Guess what? The prices are out of the roof.
They are.
And that has created extraordinary demand across the nation, across the country. The supply is still tight. Oh, sorry, we are building 35,000 less homes. Oh, sorry, now we are building 77,000 less homes as compared to what we promised 2 years ago. So the government keeps making promises, but not delivering. So please seek advice from the right people. Don't just rely on what the government is telling you because it will not take you anywhere.
Before I wind up this interview, I know you on a personal level, and I know that your life was not always bright, and you know the life from the bottom up. You build
as an immigrant. Yes, very true.
And that's the formula that people are seeking, and that is somebody who has been in their shoes, like yourself. But we all love to dream. I'm the one of them. I love to daydreaming even today. It's a very serious question about something we're hearing always on TV, and that is Australia is a lucky country, and we're all living Aussie dream. Do you think that?
I know where it is going.
Do you? Okay. I want to ask you, as somebody who is working with this real, tangible Aussie dream, and that is that people want to have the roof above the head, their own one. Do you believe that Aussie dream is dead or not? Or is on a pause?
My friend, let me tell you, Aussie dream is becoming more and more difficult and more convoluted. They are making it not straightforward for the first home buyers.
Okay.
There's a big disparity in what people are making, in what people can afford, and where the prices are. There's a big gap over there. Things are not easy. So they're closing down the paths as to how people can go towards home ownership in the country. And they talk about that they are actually helping first home buyers. Instead, they should be taxing the wealthy people. I would rather suggest, and that's my suggestion, why not put a tax on wealthy people who own houses worth more than, let's say, $5 million as an example. And even on their own houses, let's make them pay a land tax.
Yeah.
Because if they can own a house worth $5 million, $7 million, $10 million or more, trust me, they are wealthy. Put land tax on them. Why is the government afraid to do so? Nothing about it. Who are they taxing out? The young families who are trying to create financial security for their future, who are trying to get their kids into the property market 10, 20 years later by getting into investing now. They're taxing them by removing negative gearing. Or we will make $2 billion out of it, or $3 billion, whatever numbers they're coming up with. Tell me one more thing. Have they modeled about what all the current landlords would do? Because if I'm a landlord, I have multiple investment properties, and I know that if I sell, I'm getting negative gearing benefits on them. Yeah. If I sell them and buy another established property now, I won't get any negative gearing benefits on that. So as a landlord, would I sell my properties, or would I actually have all the reasons to retain them? And if I'm just retaining those properties, what am I doing? I'm reducing the supply of new homes for first home buyers. Plus, we are building less homes anyway.
So true.
So we are not helping first home buyers. The government talks about helping first home buyers, but in all honesty, they're actually making it more difficult. If they really want to help first home buyers, they should start probably taxing the wealthy people on their owner-occupier homes, just as I suggested. Or as another suggestion, if the government really wants to help first home buyers, they can probably let them enjoy tax benefits on their owner-occupier loan. So they tell them, okay, this tax benefit was only for investment properties, but if you are a first home buyer, you want to get into your first townhouse, your first home, your dream home, we will let you do that, and we will give you tax benefits out of it. So if you are paying, let's say, $20,000 interest or $30,000 interest every year, you get $5,000 back in your bank account. Don't you think that will be a better help for first home buyers?
Absolutely.
I'll leave the question for you to answer.
Yeah, as we spoke at the beginning. I was in Spain, and I was talking to a couple of people over there, And we just discussed it, like, who's gonna, about kids, all these things. And I said, like, look, in a nutshell, I said, like, whatever I have, I want to leave my kid. But most of the parents, they are parents because they have a children. They say, like, oh, I don't want it dead because my kid wants to something have in the future. And I think myself, well, I am ready in debt, while I will not make something for my kid, leave him something so that he doesn't need to struggle. What do you think if some young couple, Aussie young couple, watching this right now, and they are hopeless and helpless, thinking they can get their own property, what would you tell them right now?
The most important thing for them, or my advice to any young couples out there looking for first home, is first, don't get hopeless. There are still areas where you can find your first home. Try not to buy a first home as a dream home. Your first home can never be a dream home.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip, yeah.
Try to have those 4 bedrooms, 3 living areas, 3 bathrooms, 2 verandas. It doesn't work that way. That is not what your first home looks like. It's a first home. It should be functional. It should be in a location which is convenient for the family. It should be affordable for you, and it should have some upside potential where it can actually grow over time as well.
Yeah.
Because once it grows over time, it will help you buy that dream home ultimately. So that is my first tip. The next thing I would suggest to them is save as hard as you can. Work extra jobs. I've worked 3 jobs at one point of time, and I wanted to save a deposit for my first home. And that has not changed.
Yes.
When I bought my first property 11 years ago, it was expensive back then as well.
It's always expensive. Doesn't matter, particularly the young migrant,
true,
with a young family.
True. I saw a video. It's a very viral video as well going around where someone came out of auction in the 1960s in Sydney, and they said, oh, the lot sold for $4,000. It's so expensive. So this complaint will continue. If you don't take action, you'll always be on the sidelines commentating, oh, it is expensive. Or if you're smart, then you get into the market. And to get into the market, don't overstretch yourself. Save hard, work double job, triple job. Buy in affordable locations where you can afford. I think a lot of opportunities will be there in regional cities. A lot of opportunities will be there in Melbourne Metro for a lot of first home buyers. So Melbourne is a big city. It's the second biggest city in Australia, right? So it has good economy as well. So if you can consider, you may not have considered of moving to Melbourne before, but if you're living in Sydney and Brisbane and you feel like you're priced out, have you considered moving to Melbourne? Have you considered moving to Perth? Because you can still get a house over there for under 800K.
See, that's a good point. Like, you don't need to buy the house in Sydney, as you say, like first dream home, but
no, you don't have to.
Reconsider maybe some different places.
And they're all good cities. You will build your network with time. Try to get your job to move you around if possible, or try to find another work over there. And none of that is easy, trust me. I'm not saying it's easy, it's a piece of cake. No, it's not. It will be tough. It will come with its own challenges. You will be away from the family maybe. You will be living alone maybe. But you have to do something different to get a different outcome.
I really like it how you explain this. Like, you can complicate things from budget. And again, as I said to you at the beginning, I couldn't understand one word what they're saying, because it takes time to ask to Google negative gearing and everything else. Treasurer, he wasn't helpful at all, he doesn't answer any questions directly. He's going around the bush and everything else. But I'm grateful that you sat today and explained to Australian people, everyday people, from all walks of life, not to lose the hope that they can get own property and they can get a top-notch advice from somebody who built their life from bottom up. It's like 3 jobs at the one time. That is not just a noble Adeal. It's reality. Most of the people not even happy to do one job.
True. And then they complain about house prices.
And you know what? Other day on a plane from Europe, there's a commercial on a TV on a plane from Australia, and said like, if you are 50 years old plus, this is retirement villages for you. And I said, like, I'm 54, I'm not ready to retire.
Don't want to retire.
What do you think about retirement? Budgeting doesn't talk about retirement. What if somebody wants to retire earlier based on properties? Would you advise such a thing?
I have my own plan where I plan to retire in the next 11 years. That's my timeline in terms of retirement.
Interesting. Okay,
so that's what I'm working towards. And that requires a lot of sacrifice, to be honest, and a lot more discipline. I need to be a bit more disciplined. I'm not that. I need to take it to the next level. Having said that, retirement through property is very much possible. And these small changes that happen here and there every now and then. See, New Zealand had their own version of negative gearing scrapped back in 2021. What that did was the rents skyrocketed.
Okay.
And our very informed treasurer is saying that the rents will only go up by $2 a week. So that's what they're claiming. But anyways, let's see how they go. We see they will actually shut up.
I'm sorry, I need to laugh.
We keep going back to budget, sorry.
But what you said at the beginning during our conversation, what the government says is usually it doesn't help on the long run. $2 per week. Come on, seriously. I can't believe it. That
$2 a week is what their modeling shows. Anyways, having said that, so the question was, what was your question again? Sorry. We went into the budget again.
Can we retire based on property?
So that's where the opportunity is really big. The goal is still to retire and create wealth for your retirement.
And you can help people with that.
We definitely help with that. The goalpost has changed. Yes, negative gearing will be a buzzword for the next month or two. But the ones who actually win, the smart investors, adapt quickly. Because what that is doing is, it will create new opportunities, which we are already seeing now. Now I'm getting calls from agents which were not even picking our phones before.
Yeah.
Because now they want to sell stock. And now they know that suddenly the buyers have reduced for that kind of stock, so they're ready to negotiate. So when you're in that negotiation boat, yes, you may not get $3,000-$4,000 benefit for the next 3 years while your property is negatively geared, which equates to like 10-12 grand. But what if you can get a property worth $25,000 less today? So that's a big benefit.
Look, I know where I live, there was a fewer homes, right? Box Hill. Since I come back from Spain, right, I said, where's these homes coming from? Who planted them? There's a new families coming there.
They look like planted, you're right.
Yeah,
just grown.
But I think that we all should be grateful having you. Seriously,
thank you for
that. I know it personally, but it's takes courage to sit, number one, here and being questioned about budgeting, negative gearing. We talk about the future, which is our children, the legacy. And most of people are afraid to consider to do anything with the money. And most of them, they don't even know how to save the money. I'm listening to you and I said to myself, I wish I knew you 20 years ago, right? Because then the bank was advisor. You go in the bank and say, mortgage, okay, 80%, have a 20% deposit, yes. Okay, house is yours, yes. And then all drama starts, actually.
Yep.
Then the drama starts.
True.
But you speak about all these problems and benefits in a way that people understand. So for that one, I'm very, very grateful. Is there anything else would you like to add before we wind up? Because you give the hope everybody now. I'm literally thankful.
I think there are a couple of areas I would like to touch upon where people actually can look into if they're looking for creating wealth using property. I think one big bucket that hasn't been touched is self-managed super funds. And again, before you make a decision to buy anything under your super, you need to seek your professional advice. So I'm not the one to give you advice on that. But that is one bucket where essentially, if you buy something now,
self-managed
super fund, SMSF. So if you buy something in today using your super money, after 1 year, you only pay 10% tax on it if you sell it. And if you sell at your retirement age, you pay 0 tax. So that is your tax haven.
Ooh,
so self-managed super fund is where I see a lot of people going into. Other couple of areas, if you have a 20% deposit to work with, or you can afford that negative gearing benefit being wiped off, it is a great time to be in the market because the established properties will be there to be acquired and there will be less buyers. So you can have more stock to choose from for that specific clientele, for that specific kind of buyers. So if you can absorb, if you're not looking for that $4,000 cash benefit from the tax man at the end of the financial year, but you still want your wealth to grow by $50,000 every year, the market is ripe for you. It's a perfect setting for you. Another area where I would see a lot of people going into when it comes to creating wealth using property is buying properties under company structures. Again, I cannot give financial advice on that, but under companies, your property will only be taxed at 25%, which means if you sell it, your gains are only taxed at 25%. However, under the new inflation method for capital gains tax, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
You may end up paying actually more capital gains as compared to owning a property in a PTY limited. So again, not a tax advice, not a financial advice, but that's where I see a lot of people from day one treating property as a business,
Yes.
buying it under PTY limited, and yes, enjoying the gains, but also being aware that there will be things happening on and off and budgeting for that well in advance. Not just thinking that, oh, I bought a property, it will go up in value. I don't have to spend $1 from my pocket. It's all good. I will claim everything in negative gearing, tax depreciation. No. This budget will make people a little bit more accountable from day one before they sign the contract, which is good part, which I think it's a good thing for investors because they need to be more aware now.
Yes.
So those are the avenues where I really feel people will make good money. There's heaps of opportunities out there. My phone hasn't stopped since the budget came out. Because there's a lot of fear. And Uncle Warren has said, be greedy when everyone is fearful, and be fearful when everyone is greedy. So now is the time when everyone is being fearful, be greedy for the right stuff.
Did I answer properly? Warren Buffett.
Yes, Mr. Uncle Warren Buffett.
So say again, be greedy.
So he talks about being greedy when everyone is fearful.
Okay, and
being fearful when everyone is greedy.
That's so good, eh? That is so good, Adeal. Look, how the people can reach you?
Oh, they can just directly book a call with the link, which is showing at the bottom right now. They come and talk to me. They don't talk to anyone else. So I have a really good, solid team supporting me. Really thankful for them in the operations every day. But I'm the one who works with each of my clients myself throughout the process.
Don't be afraid. Invest into property. Buy the property. Adeal Rizvi today, guys, on live, the battlefield. Feel free, remove all your fears. I know there's a lot of obstacles, a lot of challenges, but I'm sitting opposite man today who built his life from bottom up. And that's a formula you're looking for your success. Adeal, thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you, Mario. Pleasure being with you as always.